Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today we are looking at the Cobra Flight Pod, one of the more iconic vessels or vehicles that we get. This is considered one of the small vehicles here on yojo.com. So for our 1985, continuing on through 1985 here, it was first released and sold in the United States between 85 and 86, and unfortunately it was discontinued in 1987. Um, I don't know why they only let it go for about 3 years. You know, with the popularity that they have had over the years with GI Joe and Transformers, they only ran short runs, and I guess a couple of years probably isn't a short run, but you know, I in my mind, I'm surprised that they didn't run them longer. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there. All right, so we do have a nice front view with the mine, and I've never understood if this was supposed to be a floating air mine or how that worked. Um, it's always gone with it. I don't remember it in the cartoon at all, but it is here. And even with the classified series, because I got to uh, shoots, and I can't the Viper Patrol or Python Patrol uh, flight pods. So they still came with the mine, and it has the missiles in that as well. So um, never been certain exactly how the mines were supposed to work, but they've always come with them. Okay, and we have a nice side view. So these are very interesting vehicles, very iconic for Cobra, and I know Joe's have kind of stolen them from time to time. So, um, like a lot of the stuff, once things have gone from one side or the other, I've always figured that one side or the other has always kind of acquired enough of them that when they have a special small force unit, they can field that type of vessel or vehicle uh, for that unit because they've gotten enough of them. Although they may not have a ton of extra parts or whatever, but I've always looked at it in that regard. Okay, and of course, then we have another side front view here, and it'll kind of flip over, and then we have the rear here. Okay, and the wonderful box art. So this is showing us kind of up in the air. So I'm going to say that it's probably, with whatever the coils are underneath, that it's got some sort of repulsor lift, anti-grav, whatever technology in there, which does really work well for what I have been kind of saying along the lines of if a Star Wars vessel crash landed and we were able to reverse the technology and make it a reality, um, is this something that we could do? Could we use it in other aspects? So, in that regard, yeah, probably. Um, to what degree, I don't know. I would never be able to fully see myself, but that's the direction I'm kind of going with this, bringing it into a Star Wars uh, galaxy. So the flight pod includes two missiles, detachable engines, and an aerial mine, which were easily misplaced. So as far as that goes, and of course it is saying it's an aerial mine. Like I said, for myself, I was always kind of lost as to where that came from because I don't remember them ever having it. And of course, here we have Zartan with a couple Cobra Troopers from Sunbow. And then we have one of the, actually, this is a later kind of file card here. So weight is 720 pounds, speed is about 80 miles an hour, range is 120 miles. Armament, it has one 30 caliber machine gun, two Warlock long range laser guided missiles, one solid propellant SNK 7 aerial mine. Um, and I don't think I put the aerial mine in on my write up here. So, with their nearly constant presence on patrol around Cobra facilities, and reputation for being a nasty pair to deal with, the Cobra Flight Pod certainly earned its nickname as Trubble Bubble. Extremely maneuverable and easy to operate, most every Cobra operative who has had to go do a recon patrol has flown one. Little more than a seat, canopy, and machine gun strapped to an engine. The flight pod wasn't uh, ever really intended for use in combat. Unfortunately for Cobra, the G.I. Joe team doesn't pay much attention to these little recommendations. Uh, and then we have a special ops trouble bubble here. Um, I don't know what that's from. And then we have our commercial space here. So that's the last that we have out of those. Japan had a different box art. So, okay, so GI, and I'm going to say Joe here, however, that's written in Japanese. And of course, we have some different wording here in Japanese, which is wonderful. And a flight pod in English. So, always interesting to see how they do these things in different countries with different languages. All right, so in '85 we had the Cobra flight pod, and then we had a different color, more of a gray for the flight pod in '97. 2008 we had essentially a remake, but it has some. This is going to be more of a laser here, and then we have another one in blue, and then we have a gray with a red canopy, a little bit of a camo here. So in 2010. So it is interesting. And this was only $2.39 when it first came out. So, I think that's probably one of the things that would make this even more attractive. Just the fact that we're able to have so many of these out there. I know I've shown unboxing my classified scale one on one of the Figure Fridays, but it is interesting to get back to this and bring this into our G.I. Joe force here. So, all right, let's go see what. All right, so let's look at this wonderful craft here. The flight pond at speeder scale is roughly about 8 feet long, has a crew of one, no passengers, no cargo capacity. Full coverage is what I was giving it. Now I'm being a little bit on the generous side because, yes, you have that piece in the front and you have the canopy, but your arms and your legs are kind of dangling out there. So, I'm just giving it a full, just being a little generous to it. Flight altitude is about 1 kilometer up. Maneuverability, I give it a 3D. It did say 80 miles per hour, which equates roughly to about 128.7 kilometers per hour. Body strength is a 1D plus 2. I figured it'd be a little less than par. They do mention that it's not really intended for combat. It's meant for essentially guard duty and all that, and to be kind of threatening, but not really a good combat type vehicle. I gave it a light auto blaster, which is going to be at personnel scale. Remember, this was like a 30 caliber, so I was thinking 3D, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a 5D, and I think we'll just drop the light and we'll just call it an auto blaster. And we'll just kind of leave it at that. It is a fire control of 1D. My thought behind this is you're flying, you're trying to keep everything, and it looks like you're doing everything up here because our feet are more or less dangling here. If you're trying to fly and take care of everything else, trying to aim is going to be a secondary thing. So I figured I'd just downgrade the aiming a little bit. And then I gave it the 2 missiles, front firing arc, personnel scale at 5D. Actually, why don't we change this to speeder? And then we're going to, same thing, trying to fire them, trying to do everything at one time. You're not going to be very accurate. But that way, it gives us a little bit more of a offensive to say, well, we can try and attack a speeder scale vehicle, a car, truck, whatever you have. I think that might be a little bit better. Right or wrong, let me know what you think. But it gets us our wonderful flight pod in here. Trouble Bubble has always been a mainstay in so many of the cartoon episodes, and I'm sure that it had appeared in so very many comic books as well. something fairly inexpensive with the flight capability. And there again, you know, it amazes me we can get closer to this today than ever before. And I'm just thinking that they have um, like water jet boards and water jet backpacks um, that can kind of keep us up in the air. I know it has nothing to do with just regular flight, but we're also getting with different fuel types and so on and so forth, um, and different composite materials. We're getting so much closer to being able to actually make something like this a possibility. Whether we actually ever will fully be able to do something like this or not, I don't know. Uh, it could very well be in the realm of no, never. But it is an interesting thing with what people are coming out with. Even if they don't use a rocket pack in the back, even with the kind of drone engines and stuff like that going around, maybe like 3 or 4 or something like that, being able to do this. And we're getting closer to that. I've seen ones that I think it was electric that they could have run for about 25-30 minutes and it could kind of haul tail. So, there is a possibility. Time will tell. So, all right. Well, with that being said, thank you so very much for watching today. I always appreciate it. Drop a like whenever you want. Hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you.